This is On the Flywheel, a podcast where each week we talk to entrepreneurs and professionals about the practical things they do to build and keep momentum in their personal and professional lives. Hello and welcome to On the Flywheel, episode 3. Today our guest is Matthew Larrabure. He wanted to make sure I got his last name correct. Thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So the way I like to start is just tell us a little bit about yourself, your career path, and how you got to where you are today in your professional life.
Sure. Well, it started out local Petaluma guy, living with my best friends, and that was in college. Before that, my brother and I owned a painting company, house painting business. Right, okay. So we worked for a guy in high school, and then after 2 years after high school, we continued to do that. And I bring that up as a business creation, business generation mindset of like we had to go out and get clients and friends and family and do that and figure it out.
Was that kind of like I feel like I've heard of this before. Is that like a Cutco thing, but for painting?
Kind of. That's where we first did it. Was through, I think, a company called College Works Painting or something like that. Okay. And then that was just the first year over one summer, and then the next year we kept the equipment, and my brother and I just did it on our own together, no association.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool.
So we did that, and then a little bit later I wanted to get out of that business. And
I would not want to be a painter.
No.
It's a tough job.
I appreciate having the skills still, but I'm glad I don't do it for a living anymore.
Yeah.
So I got out of that business, and there was an opportunity with I think a previous guest of yours, Dan Anchetta. He job change situation, so I was able to take over his old job. He moved out of the area for a little bit, and I was working for a real estate developer.
Okay.
And so that was also during college. Right, so I'm learning business skills. I was learning accounting related. I went to Sonoma State for a business degree, and then also back to the kind of entrepreneurship, living with three best friends in college. Also with Dan Anchetta, your previous guest, we opened a hot dog cart. And did that for a while too. It's just another unique, fun way of making money, kind of out of the box, kind of unique thinking, figuring out, oh, hey, here's an opportunity. How do we take advantage of that, right?
Yeah.
Seeing a need and then solving that need.
Yeah.
Right? And then that kind of fizzled.
So talk about because I've heard this story before. Yeah. Talk about your target demo for the hot dog stand.
Yeah. So the need arose when we were early 20s and going out to the bars downtown Petaluma.
Yeah.
And at the time there was nothing to eat after 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You were drinking, having fun. You could really use a snack at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Or 10 o'clock at night or midnight or whatever time. And there wasn't anything. So we're like, let's set up a hot dog cart. We went on Craigslist, bought a hot dog cart. A couple weeks later, we rolled down to the street, posted up, and started slinging hot dogs.
I have to imagine that was an instant success.
Yeah, it was good. It was never this, oh my gosh, we raked in the dough.
Well, you're not going to print money selling hot dogs.
No, but it was fun. And we did it with the idea of, we're going to do this with always one other person to work because we wanted to do it together. It was a way to hang out with each other and make money versus spend money. That was our baseline idea. That was like the mission statement. Mm-hmm. How can we hang out together and make money versus spend money?
Yeah.
Right? I think we did that for about 2 years. We did some events. We bought a second cart. We did some catering things. So it was fun.
That's cool.
It was fun. It ran its course. About that time, all four of us we were in different kind of started our careers, right? And I graduated from college, and I graduated from Sonoma State with a business finance degree, and I got a job at Merrill Lynch, one of the larger investment firms out there, and I really enjoyed the investment classes that I took, and I said, okay, how do I get into this world? I don't know anything about it. I don't know what's out there. I don't know the opportunities. So I went to work for a very large institution.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That was like, okay, I can be exposed to a lot of the different areas.
It's the same reason I went to work for Ernst & Young right out of college.
Exactly.
It's a huge firm. It's they work with a bunch of other companies, so you get a lot of interesting experience.
Yeah, and I was at the bottom of the rung. I was essentially a front desk person.
Yeah.
You know, but I learned a lot, and I really kind of learned about the business. I was like, okay, what can I do next? I've opened the mail as efficient as I can. What else can I do?
Yeah.
You know, then they said, oh, get licensed. So I got my Series 7 and 66 licensing. And I was like, okay, what's next? Well, we don't really have anything. And then a couple months later, I was like, oh, we actually have a job change position opened up for you if you want it. It's down in the Mill Valley, Merrill Lynch office. And it's working as what we call a client associate, so an admin for several advisors. So I went and I was like, okay, well, I'll go interview the advisors, see if I like them, see their personality, if we meld. And so I ended up taking that job, and they liked me, so we continued. And then, so that was in 2008.
Okay.
And then several years down the road, I was like, you know, I really like this business. I like how it operates. I like the people I'm working with, the two advisors. And I said, okay, I think I want to do this career for the rest of my life. Not being an admin associate, but I wanted to move into being an advisor and go that route. And so I talked to the two advisors that I worked with, and I was like, hey, I want to do this, and I want to do this with you. And they said, yeah, we like you. Our clients like you. Let's make this happen. So I transitioned from the admin role to an advisor role.
Okay, cool.
And that was in 2012. Thinking back, went through their training program. It was a 3-year training program. It also took me to one of the Bank of America branches. They came out with a program to be the advisor at one of the Bank of America branches.
Okay, yeah.
So I did that for a couple of years, and that really expanded my exposure to people, right? It was, okay, here's a wide range of people that I don't know off from anybody, right? Somebody walking in the door, and they're coming in, they need a new debit card.
Yeah.
And then I can help them with that, and then learn about them, ask probing questions. What are you doing? And gain that relationship and hopefully expand those relationships. So it was a very good experience. There was times that I hated it. I wanted to go. I wanted to leave that day and quit because it was just horrible at times working out of a bank branch when the banks are trying to lower staff and cut back on tellers and using ATMs for everything and not staffing.
Yeah.
So there'd be lines out the door, and it was just terrible. But that ran its course, and that was great. And then recently, 2019, my team of advisors, we decided to leave Merrill Lynch and open up an office for RBC Wealth Management down in Marin. So that's where I am. That was 2019, and it's great. Still love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I want to come back to the hot dog thing one more time, because I love the kind of just like raw entrepreneur. We're gonna get into the bulk of your work history, but I want to know, like, just real quickly, like the one lesson or big takeaway you had from running the hot dog stand.
Ooh, big takeaway.
If there is any,
I think focusing on what you're trying to accomplish. Right, kind of like a mission statement, having an idea of really what you're trying to do, and it goes back to our mission statement. I mean, we didn't have it written down. We actually created like a partnership agreement. We tried to be really legit.
This is like classic like business students in college.
Yeah, yeah, right. We wrote it out. We all signed it.
Yeah.
And one of the clauses in there was, if this impedes on our friendship somehow, creates a rift in our friendship, we will shut down the business, because that was first, right? And that goes back to what we started in the first place. It was, we were sitting around, how can we hang out together and make money versus spend money, right? So that was kind of the driver, and so that continued, right? We didn't need 2, 3, 4 people working the cart at night,
right?
At any given time. We could have done it with one person and made more money. But that wasn't the point of it.
Right.
It was to hang out together. Some of my best memories are at 3 or 4 in the morning after working the cart and then going back to the house and hanging out.
Yeah.
That's what it was about. And so I guess the takeaway is kind of have that goal in mind. What do you really want to do with this job, career, entrepreneurship, business? Like, what is the intention?
Yeah.
To make a lot of money? And that's okay.
Yeah.
And if that's all you want, great.
Because then that informs like all the decisions you have to make, because then that's the lens through which you look at everything.
Yeah.
Makes it simpler. I actually think that's a great takeaway. Or there's someone that said beginning with the end in mind. I forget who to attribute that to.
Sounds smart.
Exactly.
And just to wrap that up a little bit, I think most people have that. They might not realize it though. They know what they want, but they might not have thought about it. Right. They know why they're doing it, but they haven't really put it down on paper.
I think that's a great thought, because taking the time to think through what you want and actually like writing it down, because I think people have a gut feeling or a gut reaction, but I know for me personally, it's so clarifying when you actually take a moment and like think about something and actually put it to paper and visualize what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
And especially if there's multiple people involved, then it's even more important that you're all together on the same page, because otherwise you might not have the same perfect end goal. Okay, I want to retire at 55 with $10 million in the bank, and they want to work till 70 and don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right. That end goal could be different, but kind of what your intention of the business, of the work, that purpose, I think is important.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're now translating this into your big boy job from hot dog stand to financial advisor.
Yeah.
Right. So talk a little bit about that, managing expectations for people when you're trying to help them manage their money and figure out a plan.
Yeah, it really does start with the plan. And that plan can be very, very, very detailed, or it can be very simple, right? It depends on where that person is in their life, right? Somebody young starting out doesn't need a full 50-page financial plan document.
Right.
There's nothing there. They don't, and they might be 30 or 25. They don't know what they're doing 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
Yeah,
they don't
I'm
know
still
what
not
they're
sure
doing
I know what I'm
right?
doing.
Right? So there's a lot of potential differences of what a financial plan should look like, but you should have some sort of goals in mind.
Right.
And it could be, okay, I want to get up to $100,000 or $1 million, or I want to retire. I'm 45 and I want to retire in 15 years, 10 years, right? Okay, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you have that kind of that longer goal or that goal out there, and then work our way backwards, say, okay, what can I do today to help achieve that?
Yeah.
Right? And again, it can be very detailed, and it could be a lot of moving parts, or it could be very simple.
I think what's so interesting about specifically two things. One is, speaking of Dan, like a mortgage broker, mortgage advisor, and then a financial advisor, is that it's like a very intimate look into people's lives that pretty much no one else experiences. Like, money is private, right? Or at least it feels private to me. Like, it's not some people want to flaunt their wealth, right? Or flaunt how much money they have. But generally people keep it close to the vest. So talk about how you how you navigate like dealing with very sensitive information and I think also the emotional aspect of it, of talking to money is also very emotional.
It is. If you're started working with somebody and you don't know them at all, it really comes down to asking questions, right? It's finding out what's important to them, and that's really how you build that rapport, that relationship with them, is getting to know them. You don't come out and say, okay, give me your bank account and give me all your money and then go from there. No, it's like, what are we trying to achieve? Tell me about your life. What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
What's important to you?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's really what matters. It's find out what's important and figure out how we can do more of that. How you can do more of that.
Yeah.
Right? By putting your money in places and in ways to achieve that goal.
To facilitate what you want.
Yeah. And some people don't know. That's another, like, some people don't know what they want.
Yeah.
Right? It kind of goes back to that business side of like writing it down, right? Some people have never really thought about, when do I want to retire? What does retirement look like? Is it working part-time? Is it riding off into the sunset? Is it fishing every day? Is it sitting on the couch watching TV? Is it traveling all over the world? All of it's fine. If that's what you want, that's for you. That's great.
So for the people that don't know, how do you get them to that point? Just asking more questions?
Kind of that asking probing questions, and it usually starts with what you're doing now, right? It's, what do you enjoy doing now?
Yeah.
Do you want to do more of that? How much more? What would you like to do? And so this is really where you can start for a lot of those people.
Yeah.
We do that from a spending standpoint. We say, okay, how much am I going to need in retirement? Well, how much do you spend now?
Yeah.
Let's start with that and then work our way back.
Interesting baseline.
Yeah, you just have to start somewhere, especially for those people that don't really know.
Yeah.
But usually you start, okay, this is what I'm spending now. Okay, do you like your lifestyle? Well, yeah. Okay, well, let's use that as a baseline. And then we can adjust, and we can add stuff and remove parts, and then be able to set up, okay, how do I continue this? What are those items 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years down the road that might cause an issue? Am I spending too much?
Yeah.
You know?
So learning to ask these questions, is that like a formal training thing, or is that just like hard-earned experience, or how do you get to that point?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, there's definitely training programs. There's definitely a lot of people out there that'll help you to do sales training, those probing questions. I mean, it depends on what you click on your Facebook feed or Instagram feed. That's what starts filling up of these business experts, and here's the top 50 questions to ask a brand new prospect, or all those things.
Yeah.
There's so many out there, and really there is an art to it. There are systems involved that you can do that really can make a difference if you really want to do that.
Yeah, but I think this is already something, even just on the third episode of the podcast, something we've talked about already, is I feel like just caring about people, and focusing on the relationship over just trying to make a sale has a pretty dramatic impact on people.
And I think it comes down to doing what's right out the gate. Yeah. Right? And it does come up a lot in our business. Like, somebody might come to me and I'd say, I can't take you on. I'm not going to take you on as a client because you don't need me. You don't need what I offer, right? You need something over here. I'm giving away business. Yeah. But it's the right thing, and that'll be pay dividends. Not to use a financial term, it'll pay dividends over a long term to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they're going to remember that, they're going to tell somebody, and then that person is going to refer somebody else. Yeah. And that referrer is going to be way better off.
Yeah, I think it is easy when you're, trying to make a sale. It's easy to have a short-term mindset and not think longer term about it, that you're trying to build a career, build a book of business, build something long term, and it's not worth sacrificing your long-term success for short-term gains.
Yeah. And people are in different life points, and a lot of times there's a catalyst that has to happen to get them to want to talk about it, deal with it, take that next step. Yeah. And it can be a long time from meeting somebody. I met somebody, probably 15 years ago, that I first met them, started building a relationship, and it was totally nothing to do with business. And life situation changed, and now they're becoming clients. Yeah. Totally not expected, but it was a long time ago, planting that seed, being a good person. They recognized that, and that's why they reached out. Yeah. That's such a good insight. So what do you think, I mean, since we're on the topic, what do you think if good financial advisors get right and bad financial advisors get wrong, or, I don't know if you want to call them bad necessarily, but, what do you think separates, the ones at the top from the ones towards the bottom? Yeah, I think it is a very difficult industry to get into. I think the fail rate's like 70%. For new advisors.
And why do you think that is?
When you start out, it's all about gathering clients. And it's really difficult to get clients, especially if you're young.
Right. Why would I trust you with my money when you're 25?
And it's hard to find those people when you're young that actually have money or the needs. Right. If you're older, you already have built up a lot larger network of people to tap into, and you have experience. And that's where I felt I don't want to say I did it right or whatever, but it was very helpful for me to learn the business first in a admin role, and then transition.
I feel like I also hear too, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I feel like it's also like to be I know lots of people that became advisors because they knew someone else that was already an advisor or ran an office or something like that. I feel like it is a little bit, I don't want to use the word incestuous sometimes, but that's my anecdotal experience. I don't know if that's accurate or not, like knowing someone.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that that's how they get into the business. A lot of times it's family related. Okay, my dad is the advisor, my mom's an advisor, so I'm going to be an advisor too, or something that happens a lot.
Right.
Or I know somebody, a friend. It does happen a lot.
But if you're just starting out and you don't have any connections and you're just trying to get your foot in the door, like what do you think is the progression to being successful in
Do it all.
Okay. Yeah.
Do it all. And what I mean by that is there isn't a secret, super special, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Right? This one mailer works. Whatever it is. Or this wording. Do mailers. Not that they work. I'm not suggesting mailers, but my point is you do mailers, you do seminars, you do networking groups, you do all of the things, because you might get one from one, and another one from another, and another one, and you might get two from over here, and then nothing from there for a year, and then you get one from over here.
Yeah.
Right? So you really have to do a lot. Like, I don't know. I'm really busy.
Yeah,
I do a lot of things.
You are busy. I dizzyingly so.
I usually don't have a free night during the week. I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Whether it's a networking group or a morning. I'm in 2 different morning networking groups, and it's getting out there and being in front of a lot of people. And I'd say another thing that has massively helped me is aligning with good people. Like, this business is really difficult, and it's changed a lot over the past couple decades.
And it'll probably continue to change.
And it'll continue to change. And the partnership with the right people. Like, I have my partners, right? The advisors that I worked for, now we are partners together, and I don't think I could do this business. I couldn't be in there without them, right? My success is directly correlated with them being great people and trusting me.
Yeah.
And me trusting them, and them being open to have conversations. I used to be able to go into my senior partner's office when I was the admin, and I could still do that now, but it didn't matter the question, come on in and ask, and he'll spend the time to explain it. Right? Finding those kind of people and aligning with them.
Right. So it's
huge.
It's not just about, like, from a sales perspective, caring about the people you're trying to sell to, but it's also, finding an environment where, like, the people you're working for and working with also care about you.
Yeah, because you're going to need help.
Yeah.
You will need help. You'll need... You're not going to know everything.
Yeah.
Right? Guaranteed.
Yeah.
I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I need help. I ask questions all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And that's okay. It's okay to tell a client or potential client, I don't know the answer to that, but I will find out. And you best find out really quickly and get back to them really, really quickly.
Yeah.
But it's okay not to know.
Yeah.
Rather than make up an answer.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay to say, you know what, let me double check that, and I'll get back to you. And as long as you get back to them, they're totally happy with it.
Yeah, I think that amazes me, is that, like, how afraid people are to ask questions sometimes, because I've had that, people working for me, and they're experienced, like, it's not their first time, they've been in the workforce for a long time. It's not their first job, but they're so afraid to ask questions, and they just say, oh, I'm gonna figure it out on my own and just do something, and then it's the outcome is way worse. Of course, that makes me reflect, like, am I the reason that they're afraid to ask a question? I don't know, but I think it's like asking questions, especially if you're just starting. I mean, it's really applicable to any stage of life. Yeah. Like, you got to be willing to ask questions.
So for sure. I mean, there's a lot of industries, a lot of businesses, a lot of stuff I have no idea about.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
So I ask questions about it. Like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
How does this work?
Exactly.
Why does my car operate this way? And asking those questions, and it's fine. I'm never gonna be an expert at cars.
And I feel like my experiences too, like, I've almost never had a negative reaction when I ask them a question either. I think it's kind of an underrated skill, is, like, asking questions, asking good questions.
And asking for help is also, like, if you say, can you help me? People typically will say, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're almost feeling honored that you asked for their help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And especially if they already like you and know you, they're going to be way more happy to help you.
I mean, it's flattering, right?
Totally.
You feel like, oh, I know something this person doesn't do, whether or not you're consciously thinking about that, right? It feels good, assuming you're, like, not becoming annoying, or that you're doing your due diligence with the information. You didn't you at least tried to Google it first.
It's like, okay, that's you can find out that answer in 2 seconds here.
Yeah, you should. We've talked about this. You could have figured that out, you know. But no, I think that's a great insight. And so, I think what I want to. We've talked a little bit about your business life, so I want to kind of jump into the personal stuff a little bit in terms of things that you do that you feel set you up for success. And so the question we're asking everyone is: are you a night person or a morning person? I'm trying to. This is a very scientific survey that I'm taking of each guest.
I mean, if I'm gonna have to err, I'm definitely gonna be on the night side of things. I don't like getting up early. I usually wake up at 6:30 when the sun starts shining, and I just kind of naturally do. But I don't really want to get out of bed.
Yeah, you'd sleep in if you could, and
I mean, I probably my body doesn't let me, but I'm more than happy to sleep in versus getting up early and going to bed early.
Yeah,
But
fair enough. That's good. I think you're. And I'm gonna have to take a tally of it, but you're not alone. You're not alone. I want to normal. I told Steven, I'm trying to normalize. If you're a night person, it's okay. Because our whole culture is around just being a morning person. You go back to all the stuff on Instagram, everything. It's just morning. And I'm a morning person, but I think it's okay to be able to. Especially for work too. Sometimes it's great for people to work at night because no one's bothering you anymore. The same reason people wake up early in the morning.
Well, that's something really interesting in our industry. My industry is it's especially on the West Coast, right? We are market driven. So out here, markets are open from 6:30 to 1. So the business kind of gravitates to being in the office at those times, which just totally doesn't make any sense because I'm not going to need to talk to a client at 6:30 in the morning.
Right.
That out here, right? If they're on the West Coast, they're probably sleeping and wanting to sleep in too, right?
Exactly.
So it's moved to getting into technology's also helped that I can work from home. I can check emails, I can log in, I can do a lot of work from home in the morning if I want to, then get to the office if I want to go in and deal with this stuff in the office, and then I'll stay till 5, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
Sure.
And nobody's there. To your point, it's really weird. I was there on Tuesday till 6-ish. It was 5:30, and nobody was in the office when I left. I was, and it went by 2 hours.
Glorious.
Or something like that.
Glorious.
And it's just you can really focus on what you need to do and get
so
get
many distractions during the day. So, are there any techniques or strategies, things that you do in your daily routine that you feel whether it's getting up in the morning or throughout the course of the day, that you do to set yourself up for success?
No, but I probably should be doing things.
It's okay. This is a judgment-free zone. I'm just curious.
I don't have any of those. This is my strong routine of things that I do to make sure. I have some quirky things I guess I do. I'm quirky with my coffee.
Okay. Are you very particular about your coffee?
Yeah.
A coffee snob?
Yeah, I've become.
Okay.
I make cold brew coffee in a batch and then heat it up.
Interesting.
Because I like it really hot, but I have a jar of coffee in my fridge, and then I heat it up so I make cold brew hot, but I love the taste of it.
That quirky is the right term for that. Yeah. I've never heard of someone doing that. Yeah, that's wonderful.
It is. If you want an entertaining moment, you can go to. This is probably not appropriate to say, but whatever. Go to Starbucks and order a cold brew, but get it hot. Depending on the worker, especially if they're a new worker, they get confused. They don't know what to do.
So you actually go and order this?
I have before.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a regular occurrence.
Wow.
But
I would feel. At the end of the day, who cares? I guess, but I would feel a little ridiculous doing that.
It's funny. It's really funny. If it's a non-experienced worker there, they're I don't know how to put that in the computer. I don't know what
they're not calloused enough yet. They're just okay, another weird one, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've is there any specific belief or behavior that you feel has had a major impact on your life and how you approach life?
Absolutely. I've thought about this a lot lately, and it's the one thing that keeps coming back to me is surround yourself with good people. I think it's so important. I am so thankful for the people that are in my life.
Yeah.
And to be able to know that you can rely on like so many people, and they have your back. They're there for you if you need them.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with as many good people as possible.
Yeah.
Because you never know when you're going to need them, and which one at which time, and it's really important.
Yeah.
Whether that's in work, in personal. I mean, that could be the same person.
Yeah.
There's crossover, but having really good people in your life is really important, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. There's a lot of people that talk about you are the average of the 10 people you spend the most time with, and I haven't found anyone that says that doesn't feel like that isn't true. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's good to have people in your life that are there for you, that challenge you. If you're spending all of your time with people that, if you're thinking about just from a professional perspective, if you're spending all your time with a bunch of people that aren't trying to push their lives forward, then it's going to drag you down.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're spending time with a bunch of people that are all driven and successful and want to do well in life, then you're like, oh man, I better get my crap together.
Yeah.
And it pushes you. And then having people that you can fall back on when things are tough. I definitely, we live in an age too, I think, especially after having gone through COVID, where people don't always spend as much time together anymore, and I think communities got broken a little bit because people weren't used to spending time, and it's easy to end up isolated, especially if you do remote work.
Totally. Totally. It seems like there's a trend going back to like hybrid, or not back to, but going back to the office, but in a hybrid format. I think that's really helpful for a lot of people, and it builds those skills that I think, to your point, we kind of lost a lot of during the COVID shutdown, lockdown, being in your house and stuck there. People, it's really convenient. It's really nice to walk around in slippers while you're working, or no shoes, and all those kind of benefits. But you lose a lot of that interpersonal communication skills that are really important. Yeah. And it's hard then to find people to put yourself around that are good people. It's like, but it's really important, I think.
Yeah. I've come to realize myself that, like, I don't mind doing remote work stuff sometimes, but I greatly prefer being in person with people.
Absolutely.
Are you an extrovert or an introvert?
Yeah, that's always. I think there's definitely parts of both for me.
Yeah.
I definitely probably would lean towards extrovert.
That's if I was guessing, that's what I would say. Yeah.
But in unique ways, like I get really scared in a group setting to walk up to somebody that I don't know and start talking to them. Like, it's really hard for me. It's something that I've been working on, honestly.
I would not have called that.
Yeah, so it's something that I've worked on.
Okay.
And being it, and just doing it.
Yeah.
And so that practice and being conscious of a lot of that, and finding those areas that you might not be very good in, and working on it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of going to Toastmasters. I did that for 12 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Something like that, 10, something like that.
So you're a master. You could give a full speech right now. Then
I've done them. But I'm also very confident in even coming here and doing this. Right. 10 years ago, I would be not comfortable whatsoever.
Yeah.
I do, in different networking groups, I do 10-minute presentations fairly regularly.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I would have to prepare for hours ahead of time. Now, I'm comfortable with, one, the material that I'm talking about, and two, myself and my speaking ability, that I don't need to prepare that much time beforehand.
Yeah.
Obviously, depending on what I'm trying to present, it's important to prepare, but I don't feel like I need to as much because I'm confident in myself in that skill set, right? But it took a long time and a lot of work to get there, to get to that comfort level.
I think that's right there is another nugget, is like not shying away from working on the things you're bad at.
Yeah.
Stepping out of your comfort zone.
Totally.
That's definitely it's easy to avoid the hard things.
And finding the safe place to do that in, right? The safe way. Back to Toastmasters, it's a very safe place to practice those skills. Like, it's encouraged. right?
Yeah.
And
I don't know what other safe spaces are there really to practice personal, public speaking, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of different groups. There's service clubs, right? There's all these different areas that can get you out of your comfort zone and practice getting out of your comfort zone and doing those things that you might not be very good at and want to get better at or not sure about. If it's uncomfortable, it's okay, but go ahead and try it.
Yeah.
Work on it.
Yeah.
Because you'll get better at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Being uncomfortable means it is growth,
yeah.
right? It means you're probably growing because you're being challenged and you're having to stretch. And,
totally.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I think about too as I get older is continuing to challenge myself to grow, because I think I'm not that old relatively, but and being in your mid-30s and you've kind of been doing things for a while, I think people start to get a little bit set in their ways in their 30s, and like they settle into kind of, lots of times they're settling, especially by mid-30s, settling into kind of a career trajectory and stuff. And so I think it's easy to stop challenging yourself challenging the status quo and things like that. So I want to talk a little bit about, real quickly, we're getting to the end of our time, and so I want to chat real fast about work-life balance. I think it sounds like you do a lot of stuff,
I do.
And so and a lot of it seems work related. So how do you maintain some sort of balance, or what does balance look like for you? Because I think there's a lot of debate about that phrase, but I think it's a good thing to talk about and for people to be thinking about what's important to them.
Yeah. I can use kind of a specific example of a change in my life in the past maybe year. Technology. So I used to have my cell phone that has the email on it, and it would be on my personal device, and I get that email from the client at Saturday at 8 o'clock at night.
Did you have notifications turned on?
Yeah, because it wouldn't maybe not vibrate, but it would just show up or something like that.
You are a madman.
Yeah, right. It was terrible. And then even just having it there, and it was always because it was a corporate thing. It was really hard to mess with the right settings to get it to not do those at the wrong times, and it was just on or off. Anyways, I now have a separate work phone and a separate work computer, and when I don't want to work, it goes away.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday or whatever, I'm not looking at it. I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
If I want to work at 9 o'clock on Saturday, I can.
Right.
If I choose to.
But it's not intruding into your life.
Right. It's not merged together.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there is that balance. It's nice to be able to have that flexibility. Right. But I think also having that separation is important.
Yeah, creating boundaries between work and personal.
Yeah.
So if you want to work a lot. But when you want to be off. So I think that's
I think having that space in your house, it's okay, I'm not just always working on the couch on my laptop. Okay, go over here to do work.
Yeah.
Because now the couch is work and play and, hang out. And it kind of merges, and then it's not really good. I don't think it's healthy.
Actually, Stephen, the previous guest, also said the same thing because he works from home, and he was like, I have separate space for work, and I have separate space for personal stuff. I never bring my laptop in bed, for example. Yeah. That's a hard no.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great insight. Yeah, I turned off email notifications a long time ago because I was like, this is way too stressful. I don't want to, and it just throws me out of things, or I can't, at the very least, it just is distracting if I'm trying to focus on getting something done, or I'm in my personal life and I see this email come through, and then suddenly my stomach drops because it's something bad, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, and you're thinking about it, you're mulling over it. Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it right now, maybe, and it's just it doesn't do anything anyone any good. So I want to kind of get into the bonus questions here. Bonus. These are the bonus questions.
I like it.
Yeah. So, what are some of the books that you've gifted the most to people?
Gifted book.
Or recommend the most.
Yeah, the biggest one, and I have gifted it. Never Split the Difference.
Okay. I've heard of it. I've never read it. Yeah.
When I get mine back from my buddy, when I let him borrow, I'll give it to you. He's supposed to give it back to me any day. I really like that book. I've read, the How to Win Friends and Influence People, and
that one I have read. I like that.
That one's good. It's good. It's Rich Dad Poor Dad and those kind of things. But Never Split the Difference it has a different vibe to it. It really gets into kind of back to what I was talking about asking questions, finding out what's important to people.
Mm-hmm.
So the book's about it's about connecting or getting to the root of what somebody is trying to accomplish. Essentially, it's written by a FBI hostage.
Right. Yeah.
And so he has to go in, and a lot of times it's like
it doesn't get much more high stakes than that.
Right. And you can't. It's like you can't split it. Splitting the difference in a hostage negotiation, it probably has that person die. It's like not really.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is okay. There's an example of this one person hostage situation, and they asked for $100,000 or something like that. And once they got talking, figuring out really what they needed, they needed money to do this thing because this other bad thing was happening to them.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of threw out this arbitration thing and took to get to solve this. So he was like, well, if I can solve that, which didn't cost $100,000, give me the hostage. And then I was like, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
And that was happy.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of digging in a little deeper.
Below the surface, the onion.
Right. Peel it back a little bit. And it kind of goes back to, what I was saying of asking those deeper questions of what are we trying to achieve? What's the purpose here?
Yeah.
And getting to know them.
I love that.
And the book has a lot of different tactics for that and different ways. And
but just getting into that mindset and approaching it is probably valuable in and of itself.
And the way the book's written, that's why I like it. I first started on an audiobook, and I liked it so much I went out and bought it.
Okay.
And then read it.
Yeah, that's great.
In paper form, not even on a Kindle. Give me the dang book, the piece of paper. I want to hold it and have it.
Yeah.
So I can actually, and then I would reference it.
Yeah.
I went back into it multiple times, and that was this thing, this technique.
That's awesome. And for people listening, I am going to start look in the show notes because I am going to start keeping a list of all the books people recommend, so you can go back and look at that and see who recommended them. So. Were there any? That's the go-to. All right, perfect. So the other thing is, if you could put one thing up on a billboard over a super busy freeway, what would that one thing be?
I'll go back to surround yourself with good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think that really makes a difference. You might not know it for a long time, but at some point something might happen that you need people.
Love that.
And
I think
I'll keep that one.
That's great. So what's the the best investment of people's time or money? What's a high value thing that you think everyone should spend money on?
Learning, constant learning.
Okay.
I think now, especially, technology changes all the time, and continuously learning, and it could be something small, could be big, could be getting that certificate for work purposes, or it could be whatever it is. I get a weekly email that's an Excel tip, and I look at it every week, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, that's a new way to do that, that's great.
Yeah.
To me, let's constantly learning how to be better, because that's going to be more efficient, effective. I'm probably not going to remember how to do it when I need it, but I remember, oh yeah, I think I learned about that, and then go search that it can be done and figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think constant learning, and again, it doesn't have to be, I'm always taking classes at the JC, or I'm always doing this. Anything.
But books are cheap. There's books at the library. Yep. There's something to be said. I would say almost most people that I know are successful read to some degree or have some way of continuing to learn. Yeah. And I think that is a theme that that becomes evident as you talk to successful people.
And I think another thing is take some time for yourself, relax a bit. It doesn't always have to be about work.
Yeah.
And success isn't necessarily how much money you have in the bank.
Yeah. So
you kind of talked about your goals are different for everybody's goals are different. Everybody's level of success is different. Sorry, one more item.
No, please.
Don't compare yourself to other people. I hear it all the time. Oh, Bob has this, or whoever down the street just got a new car, or whatever, right? Oh, I don't know how they can afford this, and I tell people, you have no idea their situation.
Yeah.
On either spectrum, they might not be able to afford it, or they might be able to because of reasons you have no clue. They might have inherited money from a grandparent, parent.
Right.
They might have, who knows? They might have worked hard previously that you don't know about in a career, or they got something, anything. You have no idea what's going on in their situation. So don't compare yourself like, oh, they're doing this, so I need to do that. You have no idea what's going on in their life. So
I don't think that's ever made anyone happy, is comparing themselves to other people, right? There's nothing, and I think that comes back to too, like, just surrounding yourself with good people that are going to encourage you and push you, but push you in a way to, like, be the best version of yourself, right? Not to, like, try and achieve some, like, necessarily material goal, which there's nothing wrong with it. If you want to have millions and millions of dollars, and, like, I personally want to be successful, but that's something I've kind of changed my mindset on a little bit over the last few years, is like, do I actually need as much, like, is the end goal, do I need to achieve as much, like, earning as much money as I actually thought that I did in order to be happy? Like, am I actually happier if I make 10 times what I'm making now? I'm not really sure that I am. It's the simple things, like spending time with good people that are actually, and you don't need a lot of money to do that.
No.
You could have no money and be
still do that a lot. Yeah. And there's that kind of goes back to the work-life balance aspect. Like, I love my career structure. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have to be in the office at any time. Right. Yeah, I have meetings. I meet with clients. Sometimes it's not that enjoyable when it's 7:00 meeting out of the house, or out of the office at their house, and I have to drive home afterwards. Wow. But then again, I don't have to be in the office from 9 to 5 every day. It's very fluid, and I don't ask people. I don't have vacation days. I don't have to ask for time off. Right. It's this flexibility. It also comes with, if I do take time off, I usually bring my phone and laptop with me and check in and see what's going on. Right. But I also know that I've surrounded myself with good people on the work side, that if something does come up, I have the confidence that it will get
They've got your back, yeah. So that's great. Well, Matt, wonderful conversation. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you for being on. It was very insightful, and hopefully we'll have you back on again someday. And so thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you.